Hey there, Adrienne Elise here, just popping in to talk to you about what's going on in the planets and the stars. Welcome to the Gaia Daily Report for February 17th through 20th. So we are heading up into a very potent and powerful full moon, 0 degrees Virgo. And there's such an incredible lining up going on for this full moon. This full moon is the closest full moon to the earth, so it's a super moon. It has a lot of energy to it, and a lot of that makes it kind of just, you can kind of feel the energy building. So we're also on the verge of this massive shifting as big planets, Chiron and Uranus, are switching signs. And so you can kind of feel this energy moving towards something. Now, 0 degrees Virgo has this energy of the birth canal, like the Virgin is trying to birth us, help us birth into something new. So on the full moon, the sun is opposite the sign of the moon. So the moon is in Virgo, the sun is in Pisces. Pisces is the primordial, so the sun moves into Pisces on the day of this full moon. And the Pisces is this primordial energy, the soup of life, the mystery of in between or expanded collective consciousness. And so this Virgo new moon at 0 degrees, super moon so close to the earth, is kind of pushing us through a portal. And the lining up of planets is kind of telling us what this portal is really about. And so by taking some around around this full moon, you can really open up to some information, some alignment, some timeline alignment in your life right now because of the way things are lining up. So we've had, for this last week, we've been feeling Uranus and Mars together. Mars is our warrior planet. They were together at the end degrees of Aries just before Uranus moves into Taurus. And Mars has just now moved into Taurus, right? So Mars is kind of ushering Uranus over this massive threshold. And Uranus went into Taurus last year, but then retrograded back out into Aries. So it's this completion energy around the Uranus in Aries period of time, this last 7 years or so. And it's about a revolution of the self. Who are we really? And it's interesting because the energy right now in the astrology and the world and what's happening is like utter confusion. Like we actually feel further away than ever from who we really are because we don't know, we're just who we thought we were. It is kind of being chopped up and stirred around and just disrupted. This is the energy of Uranus. And of course, it's amplified with Mars. Mars is the warrior, wants to do stuff done. At the end of Aries, it was standing up for the self, the true identity, the individuality, and the rights of the individual. And so Uranus bringing this revolutionary shake-up, new energy in the last degrees of Aries. And it's saying, who are you? You know, challenge your reality. And you don't have to really try too hard right now because reality itself is being challenged, and it's shaking the foundations of who we thought we were and what we thought we wanted to our core. And so it's a really confusing time because we've had this beautiful transit of Saturn sextile Neptune, which is about, hey, let's land some dreams home into this manifested reality. But we don't even know what's real, you know, and we don't even know who we are. And how are we supposed to be able to figure out how to land what we want when we don't know what we want and we don't know if we deserve it and we don't know who we are in the first place? You know, we don't even know if this reality is even real, you know? And so this is just this crazy confusion. And this has to do with the Neptune energy, okay? Because the Saturn is the reality planet. Neptune is that collective consciousness, this bigger picture, this primordial energy, but also speaking to the Piscean age, but it's about our dreams and our fantasies. And so whenever Pisces is aspected, we get confused. Okay. Now, so what's going on right now is that for the month of January, we had Jupiter square Neptune. bringing some real confusion about how we want to expand and where we want to go in our life. And then now we've had the Saturn sextile Neptune, which is beautiful. And it harkens back to a few years ago, though, when Saturn was square Neptune. And Saturn was square Neptune, we were going, what's real? You know, and so we're kind of having that stuff come back, because it's like, okay, now it's time to land some dreams, make some stuff happen, like bring it into reality. But it's like, I don't know what's real. How do you create your own reality when you don't even know what's real? And so it's like everything in our perspective is being challenged right now, but it's a really good thing. It's uncomfortable because it's got that whole ego death energy to it. You know, it's like, yeah, you thought you were on track to what you really wanted in this life. And now it's like, it hasn't been working out. And so it's causing you to question whether it was the right thing for you to work for in the first place. And that's kind of where we get in a trap right now, okay? Because when we're trying to be conditional in our reality, like when this happens or if this happens, then I know that God is on my side and I know it's going to be okay. And it's like, we don't get any of that right now. There's no basis in our physical manifestation that relates to what's going on in our energetic field. And so we have to get out to the specifics, right? So all of the pain right now people's going through has to do with this struggle with our old identity and our old ideas and our old programming, right? So we are moving into the new. This is so powerful because, you know, like we said, Mars has moved into Taurus and it's kind of bringing Uranus along, marching Uranus over the border into Taurus. And Uranus and Taurus is about infusing the energy, our physical body, our manifested world with new energy. And so this is an epic transition. And Uranus hasn't been in Taurus. It was last year, right? But it just visited into the first 2 degrees and went back out. But it hasn't really been there since the late 60s is when it went into Taurus before. So this is an energy of, I'm sorry, I was talking about Chiron. Chiron has not been in this sign of Aries. So on the day of this full moon, Chiron moves. So we're getting ready for Uranus to move. And then Chiron also moving into its new sign of Aries. And that hasn't happened since the late 60s. And so we're having an energy of hearkening back to the revolutionary change that was trying to happen in our social energy, and this opportunity to stand up for our rights and for our strength of self and for our individual autonomy, right? And stand up for who we really are. So it's a big shift. And Uranus moving to Taurus, infusing the earth with these new energies, right? And so we've got all this happening, but then Mercury will be going into its retrograde shadow on this full moon. And so that is bringing this energy of the past, because we're like looking back at Chiron in Pisces. We're looking back at the Piscean age. And those are the programming and beliefs and delusions that have been keeping us small, keeping us scared, keeping us in the corner in our life, keeping us in prison, keeping us in fear and trauma. And these things aren't working anymore. You know, it's like Aries, Chiron and Aries. Aries is about freedom. It's a celebration of freedom. And we are needing, you know, this is the era that we are in. We cannot go forward in our evolution until we can claim our spiritual autonomy, take our power back from that programming of this past age. So Mercury taking this retrograde. So on the day of this full moon, it goes into its retrograde shadow, starts its retrograde on March 6th, the same day that Uranus moves into Taurus. So everything right now is saying big shifting is ahead. And yet Mercury is going backwards in Pisces, right? So we're not done with this Pisces energy. But the crazy thing is that as Mercury takes this retrograde over the whole month of March, we'll be feeling this. It goes up, it comes into all these it comes into sextile with Saturn and Pluto, and it comes into also sextile with Venus, and it comes into a square with Jupiter. And that's all the major players of the 2019 astrology. And so Mercury is helping us, trying to help us. This Mercury retrograde is going to feel totally different from any other Mercury retrograde. It's not about glitchy, I can't move forward so much. It's about a complete and radical shift of perspective that is required for us to drop the stories of our past and move into the future. So Mercury will come out of retrograde on the 28th. And at that point, at the 28th of March, it will be in conjunction with Neptune for like a full week. Now it's in conjunction with Neptune for this full moon. Okay, so you see how all these things are just lining up for us, saying that indeed, we are moving into the new, and there's a required shift of perspective, and here you go. And the new is coming, but you're still in the dark of the birth canal. It's almost like the closer you get to that rebirth, the darker and more confusing it is, right? So just remember that. That's where we are at right now, and not a lot makes sense. Now, so because Neptune brings confusion. So Mercury and Neptune are in conjunction right now. Mercury is searching for something to make sense, something to grab onto. And Neptune's like, woo, all over the place, right? And so this is a big energy of this next couple of months that's going on. And we have to allow the shift of perspective. And you know, so there's a lot of this Pisces is a mutable sign, and mutable signs are about being open and to shifting and change. And so that's a really good place to be. And then it's interesting because Uranus moving into Taurus is the fixed energy, and that's about grounding out and becoming more stable. So once Uranus moves into Taurus, we're going to have Saturn, Pluto, Venus still be in Capricorn. And so we are having a whole bunch of earth energy, and that is, we need to get grounded and stable to deal with these changes, right? So that's kind of the medicine right now, especially with this Virgo full moon. Virgo wants to ground out, clean up, get organized, get to the point, that kind of thing, right? So because this full moon is in an earth sign, and after, since it's at 0 degrees, it's going to move through. That means it's going to trine up with Taurus right there, you know, right before it has this full moon, and then it'll trine up with Mars, then it'll trine up with Saturn and Venus and Pluto. And so there's a really sweet energy here of harmonizing our path right now of confusion and ego death and in the dark tunnel and totally confused. We can help that energy. We can work with this by grounding out. And you know, this is kind of the deal. So many souls, especially light worker souls, really want to just leave the planet, right? I mean, when things get hard, right? It's like, well, I just know there's so much more out there than this narrow existence. And what am I doing here, right? And the deal is, the message here is that we got to come here. We haven't really actually landed. We all feel stuck here and wondering what in the heck's going on, but we haven't actually landed. We haven't actually fully incarnated, and we cannot complete our experience until we actually fully arrive, which is why we're here to demonstrate how to embody light and to embody these new energies and to bring it down, you know, bring the spiritual world into the manifested form. That's the strange mystery of this time. It isn't really an ascension in the sense of our spirit rising. It's a descension, our spirit coming into form and transmuting and transforming the physical manifested reality into higher vibrational frequencies, showing us a little bit more about what it really is. Because we know that there isn't actually anything solid, right? But here we live in this very solid world, and you can go walk up against the wall and know that it's solid. So it's a very strange place. So many light worker souls on the planet right now. higher evolved, gone through so many evolutionary experiences, and yet feeling trapped in these four walls of a narrow, confining experience, wondering why in the heck they're here. It's like, okay, well, now is when it starts to make sense why you're here. And yet there's not a lot of specifics available around your exact project and exactly how to move forward and exactly what to do, right? So we're already moving into this Mercury retrograde, and you got to put that stuff aside until Mercury comes out of its shadow, and that will happen in April. Okay, so we've got a couple of months of rearranging, because you can't shoot off and as much as, Mars and Uranus has this like, okay, let's go, let's do it, and it's like, no, you don't know where you're going yet. You don't know who you are. You don't know what this world is like, because it's too much rapidly adjusting on an energetic level, and you're in the dark right now. And that's actually a good place to be, because you need to be open to all possibilities, right? Saturn sextile Neptune, which that's the powerful thing. That's the whole lineup. It took me this whole time to get to the whole point here. But so for this full moon, we've got Venus and Saturn, okay? And Venus is like in council with Saturn here. And the goddess is saying, hey, we need a world that's more fair, more true, more beautiful. We need to be cared for. We need to know we deserve our birthright of this self-empowerment, this autonomy, and but yet we are not sure if we deserve this new energy, in this new world, because we're kind of so used to the old programming of lack and poverty and trauma. And so, Venus is like sitting down in council with Saturn, and then Pluto later next week. But basically Saturn and Venus are together, and they're in sextile to Mercury and Neptune. And it's like, okay, Mercury's trying to make sense of the confusion, and Venus is trying to get some actual fairness and some integrity and some balance in this world. And we're just still have that energy of jimmying the lock. But this Virgo full moon is like, hey, you can't see anything. You got to go through the dark to get to the light. And when it's dark, you can't see anything. Stop trying to make your little brain that only has access to this narrow reality try to understand. And when you're in the birth canal, you the deal with that is that there's a huge life force pushing you through to the next place, right? And all you can do is let that push you through and trust in this life force that we are moving and we're going forward. And it's just kind of like, it's a great time with this Virgo full moon to regenerate our life force, to take great care of ourselves, to nurture, to cleanse, to heal, and to support the life force. Right? But let the life force do what it's here to do. Get out of the way, maybe, kind of with this energy of resistance into coming into these earth incarnations when you have had traumas in these past lives, and maybe you didn't get to return fully to source in between past lives. And I'm seeing these souls just like holding up against, like, not wanting to be born into this world, the fear of the trauma and everything, and it's like, no, this is a different world. We got to reprogram that, and we've got to get out of trauma and let the life force move us into the new, because the wave is coming, it's happening, and we got to get on board. And so the waters, the primordial waters of the goddess are breaking, and the pressure has been building, and now we just kind of have to sit tight and set our course to that ideal. And that's the challenge, because you don't know what the ideal is. We keep going back to the manifested conditional world, right? And the ideal, the best way to tap into that is how it feels, how you want your daily life to feel, and that it's possible. And that you're this powerful consciousness in a body, and you're working together here with God, with consciousness, with creator, in a collaborative experience. And so you got to get on that vibration. And that's what's called for us right now. to just be in the dark and find that inner trust in the life force, in the creator that's inside of you. So I hope you can join me for this incredibly rehabilitative and transformative full moon that's happening. It's happening on Tuesday morning, but I'm going to do an activation the day before on Monday. And so it's Monday, the 18th, tomorrow at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It's $10. And you can show up, sign up. The information's in the information box below. And if you can't make the live presentation, the energy is still encoded and you can still get those channeled messages. Just sign up and you can catch the replay whenever it works for you, and that will still be there. And it's kind of nice this time doing it leading up to the energy of this full moon, so we can kind of set our vibration as we move into that energy and make the most of this rebirthing portal that we're in. So I hope to see you there, and I will be in touch soon with more updates. So until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.